So you do the sun thing too, the sun
Yeah,
video?
yeah.
Okay.
Hey Alex, how are you? Great. Interesting morning.
Well, let's see an end comes here, I think. Everyone. Sometimes they pop, you know, Anderson Cooper
Or Lou.
or Lou, because, yeah, we've got,
Wondering if there are any organ donations legally.
okay, I think we're ready. Joe, if you want to come in, Joe. Yeah.
You got a walker?
Oh, I think,
Okay.
yeah, I'm okay. Judge gonna begin while you're talking about. I'm sitting up
So, George, how soon are we gonna jump into the
About
videos?
a minute.
Yeah. That's it. Once we're into it and we're full screen, as you see, just try to get my attention. Keep
Okay.
an eye on you.
Okay.
I just need about a minute, George. Thanks, George. Begin again.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I want to first of all welcome everybody here to SOS 4000, the completion of the student torch relay. And as well, we're going to cover why I had to mortgage my house to finance this campaign, why it came down to that. But first of all, what I wanted to do was let you know how all this got started. And I got to take you back 12 years ago when I was sitting in a hospital bed and I was told I had 2 days left to live. And the only thing that was going to save my life was a liver transplant. My funeral arrangements were already made, and almost every day somebody on the hospital floor was dying because an organ didn't come, so I thought, you know, I was just going to be next. By the grace of God, my life was saved because someone made a courageous decision and expressed it to their family that should anything happen to them, to donate their organs, and my life was saved with hours left in my life, and 5 others. So there were 6 of us that were saved, and this was back in 1995, because one person made that decision. And after waking up after the operation, I had one thing in mind only, and that was to change this drastic situation, because at that time Canada had one of the lowest rates of organ donations, and even during my time I witnessed so many people dying, and I knew that so many organs were going to waste. So the decision that I made immediately was to try and change this and devote the rest of my life to do this. So I didn't know how I was going to do this, but in 1997, I had a real desire to thank the donor family. So what I did was I put a knapsack on my back and walked from Toronto to Ottawa just to say thank you. And that got a bit of media coverage. And it also sparked some ideas in my head on how to possibly bring more attention to this issue. During that time, and for most of my life since I could remember, one of my biggest heroes was Terry Fox. And I was actually meeting with his brother Daryl on many occasions, and he would share his stories with me about Terry, about being on the road and everything. And that inspired me to do something similar. And what I decided to do first, though, in 1999, was to walk around the province of Ontario. It was a 2,500-kilometer walk. It was called the Ontario Walk. But along with many people and family, friends, and we were enlisting and recruiting, organizations that were outside of the organ world, like the Salvation Army, the YMCA, COSTI. At this time, we were also bringing our message to all the ethnic groups, so we got a lot of ethnic media people on board, Omni, Korea Canadese, and we also started talking to a lot of the religious leaders about this issue, and we were getting a lot of rabbis on board and ministers, and so we were building quite an army for this campaign, the Ontario Walk. But our main focus at that time was to get Premier Harris's attention. Because presently, and this was in 1999, the organization, the provincial organization that looked after organ donation activity in Ontario was called MORE, Multi-Organ Retrieval Exchange Group. And they were actually operating, the entire organization that ran the whole province was actually operating out of a small room on one of the transplant floors at the Toronto General Hospital. And during the years that I was waiting and afterwards, I met with the CEO, Mr. Cooper, many times, and we would talk, about improving the situation, and basically he would always relate to me that every year his budget was getting slashed. So every year his budget was getting lower and lower and lower. So it seemed at that time that there was no interest in the Ontario government to do anything about this critical shortage of organ donations, because why would a budget be slashed every year? So our main focus was, let's get Premier Harris's attention, so that we can bring to him this important message, and we had hopes and faith that he might be able to do something once we got his attention. So what we did was we organized a 50-city tour around Ontario, but strategically at each stop we would invite a local conservative MPP to that meeting, so that they would be able to see firsthand what the situation was, because we'd always have people that were on the waiting list that were attending. We had students that were organized by the YMCA. We had people that had donated their organs. So anybody that was attending any of our activities would see firsthand the critical need and the desperate need of this situation. And we knew that each MPP that was there was going to bring the report back. So I think it was around North Bay, it was actually Premier Harris's hometown, that we met his niece. And